Michael Angelo's Pizza and the World Pizza Champions. I want to show you just real quick how to, what we call in Ohio, tossing out a pizza. It's how to hand toss a pizza. Some places you hear it called pushing a pizza. We like to call it tossing a pizza here in Ohio. And basically it's just an easy way that you can, without any special equipment, rolling pin or a sheeter, get it from a dough ball to the screen and in the oven. I'm going to show you how to do that, and I'll also show you a couple methods that we use to sauce our pizzas. Saucing may seem simple enough, but there's quite a few different ways out there that people use to sauce their pizza, and I want to show you the method that we use. I prefer to use a very fine cornmeal as a dusting flour rather than using actual flour. It makes a lot less of a mess. Something else you can use is semolina, but you typically stay away from the regular flour, as it'll just get everywhere in your restaurant, from all the way up to your seats out in the front all the way to into your cooler. It'll be a horrible mess to clean. Basically, you want to take your dough ball and put it in your bed of flour or cornmeal, and you want to put a little bit over top of it. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our fingers, these portions of our fingers right through here, we're going to go around the outside, and we're going to create what is the start of an edge. You can see I've got a little bit of a ring around there. Okay, we get that part there just using these parts of the fingers. Flip it over, and have a little bit of a hump in the center there, which is what you want. Even when you're finished, you'll still want that hump before you start slapping it out. Now, there's two methods. I'll show you the method that I prefer, that I use, which involves taking this part of my hand and burying it right into the outside edge, right up to that edge that we just started to create. Now, what I will do is be stretching it. That edge, just the edge, is all we're stretching. And as we go around, I'm stretching that edge, and this hand is turning the dough, and that's it. While this hand is stretching that outside edge further and further out. Now this method makes it really easy to keep a little bit of a hump in the center. We find a lot of people have trouble with this method. You still get your nice outside edge, you get a hump in the center to give you some something to start slapping. The other method that we actually have found most people use is where they take their fingertips and they run those fingertips right up into that edge, and they stretch that edge like that. It's basically the same end result. What you do have is, when people are first learning this, they have a tendency to want to stretch the dough like this. Never do that. You'll stretch out the center, you end up with a big thin middle. Always focus on stretching only the edge. This is all you're doing, you're edge stretching. Nothing else other than stretching that edge out. You want to get it out to a good size, and at that point is when you want to start slapping it out. A couple slaps on the screen and you should be done. Here's what we got. We've got the dough all edge stretched, ready to go. I'm going to pick this up and you're just going to slap it back and forth. And as you do, the dough will start to rotate in your hand automatically as you're going back and forth. I'm going to kind of focus on just slapping it out. It's kind of hard to actually show on video here. It's one of those things you've got to kind of, it takes a lot of trial and error, and you got to practice with it quite a bit. Just go back and forth, and it'll drape kind of over your arms, and bring it over, get your screen here, you just slap it down. You'll typically want to get it a little larger than your screen, because as you lay it down, it will want to relax. And then I always like to, even after I get it on the screen and all finished, still like to have it hang over maybe 1/8 of an inch. That will allow it, as it makes its way through your make line, it'll still shrink up a little bit more, but then it'll shrink up to the right size right before it goes into the oven. And that's pretty much it. You've got an edge. This will rise up. There'll be, the outsides will be a little bit of a hump. And that's normal. Actually, you can get away from that a little bit when you're edge stretching it. Instead of working right up to the edge, you can work on the edge, and that will just kind of smash that down so you don't get as much of a lip, if that's what you want to do. And then now I'll just show you a quick and easy way for saucing. A lot of people use ladles. I prefer to use a spoodle. And sometimes these can be hard to find depending on what area of the country you're in. I've heard people say they have a hard time finding a spoodle. It's a cross between a ladle and a spoodle, and it works really great for getting the sauce. You should be able to sauce a pizza in about 5 seconds with one of these. I use several different sizes of spoodles in the kitchen for saucing. It allows us to use, when they're color coded, a certain color for a large, like this is a 3 ounce here, or a extra large may get this many ounces, it's 4 ounce. But basically, you decide how much sauce you want on your pizza, and then you can decide, you can get the correct color spoodle or size spoodles and make your pizza much more consistent. But basically, you want to get your sauce in your spoodle, dump it right in the center. Oops. And you want to have absolutely no downward pressure, and you want to go in a spiral motion. Keep that spiral motion until you get all the way to where you want your sauce to be on the outside. If you want it right up against the edge, we'll continue out until you get right up against the edge. If you want to have a nice thick crust on the outside, then leave it a little bit further back. And you can take, remember, no downward force. The spoodle must lay absolutely flat. Don't tilt it, don't turn it, absolutely flat. Now, if you find that you've got some areas that there's not quite enough sauce, then you can kind of tilt the spoodle, kind of direct your sauce where you want it to go, tilting it. And then if you want to smooth out, like if you say you get a really bad spot, you get a big white spot, you take the spoodle and leave it completely flat and just go back and forth with no downward force, and it'll smooth that right out. And this will make it so it's nice and even all the way across, and every bite they'll get a nice perfect amount of sauce.